hey everybody. Finally getting some time to work on the bug again. Almost said dart. I don't know why. I've been looking at Dodge darts lately. Got a lot of stuff going on, and it's probably been almost a month since I've been out here in the garage working, and it's good to get back into it. Let me show you where we're picking up here. So you can see that it's pretty good up here, but it's bad in here. And then you get into these real deep pocks. You can see with the oblique lighting there, they're pretty deep pits. So that metal's got to come out. It's really going to be thin. And then you get back in here, it's pretty good up on top, and then it's bad on the bottom. The funny thing is, everything underneath, it really looks pretty good because there's like a drain rail there apparently. This was all stuff that had soggy headliner padding up against it for God knows how many years, and that's why it's so rusty. So that's what we're doing. Let me grab this piece of metal I'm working on. Yeah, I can't do it. Hang on. So I've formed this piece of metal out of a chunk that I had laying around. Put a little welt bend in it, and it's pretty close to being the right size. I'm going to probably cut it back to about here so I can use a longer piece of metal and that goes up into this area to do that central section. But this is what I'm going to use. It just needs to be trimmed down a bit to make it fit. Kind of see the curve that I put on it, the angle I put on it. Let me show you how I did that. It's kind of one of the things I think I can offer to you guys as viewers that are trying to learn stuff. I'm still learning too, but there's ways to do things on the cheap using minimal tools. This is the 2x4. Literally, it's a chunk of a scrap 2x4 I have from another project, but it's got a real nice radius to it right here, and it's about the right length for this. So what I did was I put this thing in my vise, cranked it down a bit, and then I just kind of tapped it like this until I got it over to where I liked it. Just like that. It'd probably be beneficial to have a couple of clamps on either side. I didn't do that. I should have, because it's kind of flopping around back here. And I may do that because there's a bit of a bow to the metal as it is. But that's how I'm getting that shape. Again, it's not super critical that it's accurate. It just needs to fit. It doesn't have to look good because nobody's ever going to see this thing. But I'm trying to replicate the factory profile as much as I can. So that's my whole goal here. Hi. So that's what we're doing. And I will cut that down and we will get it fitted in there. All right, so an hour or so later, this is what I'm left with. And it should fit into that spot right there, about like that. So, and notice there's like a little cutout here where it comes up. So, got all trimmed to fit. And next thing we do is cut that spot out. I made red lines around it, so I'm going to cut well inside of those lines just to make sure I don't cut too much out. That's what happens next. All right. Oh yeah. That's right, there's welds in here too. I forget about that. Comes off here. Forget about that. There's something welded to this too, right in here. Those gotta be drilled out. So, a little more work ahead of us, but that's how that works. So you can kind of get an idea what we're doing here. That's where we're cutting, right in there. And then there's this piece that where the louvers are on the inside of the engine compartment. That's spot welded to the piece that we're cutting out. So what we're going to do is drill the spot welds up from the back here where we can see them. Not too many. Looks like maybe 3 or 4. Looks like there might be a blind one here though because it's behind the hinge support. But that one we may have to get from the other side. All right. All right, so I've already put a small hole in each one of the spot welds. Just going to put a bigger one that should take care of the rest of the spot weld. Woo! All right. I don't think that's quite perfect, but it's a start. All right, now I got to finish a couple of cuts in here that I couldn't get with the other wheel. I'm going to use my Dremel. It's got a... I'm going to try this diamond wheel. I've never used it before. It's came in a kit of accessories I got from a company called Jorgensen. It was a Lowe's Christmas special. Let's see if it does anything. Oh, I'll plug it in first. Well, that's about what I thought. Let's try the fiber wheel again. All right, let's try it again. Pretty good. Yeah, nothing like the fiber cutting wheels. They just work a lot better. Should be pretty loose here. Where's my favorite metalworking tool? Here it is. that's where the spot weld is right there. Didn't quite catch all of it. I kind of knew that. Boom. That's almost out of there. There we go. Look at that. Ain't that pretty? Not too bad in there. Like I said, most of the damage was done by water sitting on the spot where it shouldn't be. Look at that. That looks pretty good. It's really good. Let's take a little metal out of the top here. That's pretty stinking good. What do you think? Not bad, huh? Not bad. It's funny, that whole corner's loose. There must have been some spot welds in here that didn't make contact or something. Didn't expect that. But I'll clean it up a little bit and we'll get right back to it. Really helps to use hearing protection in here. Flatten this out a little bit. A little more. Hammer it down against a piece of wood down there. That's about right. Oh, it got a little too much metal. Thick there. You know what? I bought a GoPro. A used one. Got a used GoPro coming. It should be here tomorrow. So maybe you guys can get some different POV aspects from when I'm doing this stuff. Won't that be fun? Don't you just want to be riding on my head for a little while? Wait, that sounded weird. Let's see. I think we're gonna have to take a little more off of this here. Jeez, that sticks. That thing is so loose. Maybe not. Maybe not. What about that? That looks pretty good. I gotta tell you, it's real easy to get frustrated by the amount of work that this, you know, you can just see this is going to be a lot of work. But all you can do is form a plan and pick a corner and start. And that's all there is to it. You just gotta start. So that's what we're doing. We picked a corner, we're starting, we'll move over there, and then see where it takes us. Clean that up because that's getting placed. Grab it here. All right, we get it set up and maybe we'll start doing some welding. All right, I did some extra fitting with the flap wheel and ground down the edges so it fitted in better. I also gave it the back side of that a coat of weld primer because we can hard reach that afterwards. So what I'm going to do is start here in this corner where it's pretty flush and get it tacked in. My cutters. What's going on here? That's sputtering off a lot. What's sputtering? Got gas. It's pretty clean. I don't know what's sputtering like that. Jeez, it's like it's filthy. Tight right in here. There's much wear there. All right, you get the gist of it here. It's just really tight here. I probably should have ground a little more of that metal off. See if I can persuade it in there a little bit. Well, it's kind of welded in place now, isn't it? It's not too bad. I even hit the new metal? No. I have a real hard time seeing this. I've burned a hole in it. There we go. Jeepers. Turn the heat down a little bit. There we go. Turn my heat down a little bit. Well, what do you think? It's solid. Just get in there and finish this stuff. Get it in, weld it up there a little more. This corner is kind of dicey. I think I'm just going to weld the shit out of it. Hope for the best. Worried about this metal down here. It looks really thin. Yeah, it's blowing up. Looks like we're not going anywhere. That sucks though. All right. It's going to shut you off for a while. There you go. Weldy, weldy. Clean it up a little bit so I can see where I'm at. Well, it doesn't look as bad now, but you can see a lot of spots that I've either missed or certainly need a lot more work. I actually ended up filling a lot of that big hole that I had here. So that's good. They need to just keep piling some more weld into that. This in here got, well, it's definitely secure. There's a little bit up here in the corner I need to do something with. It's coming along. The welder doesn't really do what I want it to do. It stops. It doesn't stop when I stop pushing the button. It just keeps going. It's kind of frustrating. If I hold down the button, it doesn't keep welding, so I don't know what's going on with this thing. Like that. See? I'm holding the button down. It's doing nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to keep blaming the welder. And boom, a little better. We're getting there. Jeez. Yikes, look at my tip. Maybe that's why I'm not welding so well. Hang on. Yeah, okay. Well, that's what it looks like. Not too bad. It'll clean up a little more. I'll clean it all up when I get it all done, I think. But from essentially that to that, that's progress. Okay, so I'm starting to work on this centerpiece here. I've been working on it for a little while. I'm sorry I didn't start doing video earlier, but I'm looking to replace basically this section here up into this area as well. So drop down and take care of most of that too. It's fairly complicated. If you look at it from the side, there's an angle. There's an angle here, an angle here, and then there's kind of another angle right here that you need to try and recreate if you want to be at all accurate. Again, this really doesn't matter because this is all hidden. None of this is visible. It's all under padding for the headliner. So, you know, I want to do it as neatly as possible, but again, nobody's going to see it. Although some of it's visible through the vents on the other side for the engine. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach that yet, but we'll see how bad it looks when we get done. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And I've already fabricated a panel that I've got roughed in here. Let me get you around. This is what I came up with. Again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good. It fits reasonably well. And fabricating this was basically just cutting a rough piece of metal and bending it to the right shapes. Using 2x4 and a hammer. You know, basically just beating things into shape. I have also been using this little gadget that I got at Harbor Freight. It's a metal brake, and I'm using it in ways that it was never intended. Because I'm not really doing... It's not designed to do things the way I'm doing them. These kind of angles are pretty much impossible if you use it the regular way. So what I'm doing is kind of... hang on, I'm going to rack into the stand here. I know this is a bit of a chaotic mess around here, but life's a little crazy right now, and I get to work on this when I can, and I don't take a whole lot of time to clean up between times that I can work on it. So what I'm kind of getting at when I say I'm using this in ways that it was never intended. So I've already got an angle here, and I need to create this angle. I've basically started bending it with the hammer on the chunk of wood, and then I need to pull it over. So to do that, I'm using clamps. To do that, this is what I did. It's already done. I don't want to clamp this thing down too hard or I'll screw up what I've already done. But basically, clamping it down ahead of this side of the split between the pieces, like that. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's maybe 1/8 of a gap between the split and the edge of this backer piece. And then what I do is I just use this to kind of force that angle a little further over. And what that does is it straightens up the angle that I've already created, and it brings it further over. So it's, I don't know, it's a little, it narrows up the angle. But it worked for me. It's the first time I've really been able to use this brake for that kind of thing, because I don't know, I had the clarity of mind to figure that out today, of all days. But yeah, so it worked pretty well. And right now I'm just putting it in place and marking it out where I want to do the final trimming. And then from there I will outline it on the body and cut the metal out of the body that this is going to replace. So that's where I'm at. Alright. Fits in there reasonably well. I want to trim, get the cap out of my mouth. Probably trim it off about here on this corner. And the bottom is too long, so I want to get it roughly about 1/8 of an inch higher than the bottom of the car, the existing stuff. Just do a straight line. I'll use a straight edge to get a straight line through that. All right. I like it. So here we go. It should take care of all the rust that I got. Guess I could have left some of this. It's not too bad, but what the heck. Away we go. Guess there's a spot weld in there or two that I probably have to get rid of. Looks like probably there. Let's see what we got. All right, come on over here and you can see where the spot welds are. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. So right there, that's the new piece of new piece of metal I put in. And this is the piece that I'm cutting out right now. It goes right to there. When I cut a little bit into this piece here. So it's this piece comes down and spot welds into that. So there's one there, there, and there. That's probably about it. You can see I had to do it on this one too. But there's my ugly welds from the back. I don't really know what I'm going to do with that. I'll probably just hit them with some paint, because what am I going to do? I can't really grind that area. But that's what I'll do. I just have to drill those puppies out and that little thing will come right out of there. Alright, should just about do it. There it is. Swiss cheese metal. Look at that stuff. You see that? Yeah. This is all pretty good in here. So that's set up as a drain channel. So water always runs through that. Better throw some primer or something in there, I guess. I'll hit that with the Ospo as well, and I'll hit all this with Ospo as well. But let's see how our little cute little panel fits in there. There it is. Yeah, not bad. A little bit of trimming to do. Pretty good on the bottom. Tight up in here. Boy, that's not bad, right? Look at that. I've said it before, there's certain satisfaction when it comes out like that. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of shaping on this, and we will start welding it in place. Well, first I'm going to clean the back up. I'm going to hit it with weld through primer, so we don't have just bare metal in here. I'm also going to spray this out. So I probably won't weld tonight. I'm just going to clean a few things up. But that's it. Dusty. And this is the stuff I use. And that's it. Just let that sit overnight. And what it does is it takes and creates a black coating. Basically converts the rust to an iron phosphate. So, pretty cool stuff. You can paint it, do whatever you want after that. So, I'm not quite sure how I screwed it up this bad, but so this is my first patch here. And this is my second patch here. See anything wrong? This patch goes a lot higher, or the bend is a lot higher than this one. A good solid 1/4 of an inch, probably. And it's the same over on this end. And I know I've been saying, it doesn't matter, nobody's ever going to see it, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you come outside the vehicle and you look inside these vents, well, you do see it. It's not going to be real visible, but in broad daylight, when this is all freshly painted, by the way, I don't know how this is ever going to get finished on the inside here. On the other side of these welds, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. I mean, I've heard of people cutting out parts of this and re-welding it in to finish it right, but or maybe attaching it with screws, but I guess you'd have to cut out the panel here in order to do that. I mean, I guess that wouldn't be impossible. Plus, I mean, almost going to have it, half of it free by the time I'm done with this little job. Look at that hole. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but this may be one of the uglier parts of the vehicle when it's done. Yeah. If anybody's got any ideas, tell me what you did. Put it in the comments, because I'm really kind of not sure what to do here. All right. So I'm going to get ready to make this last patch panel here. I found this scrap, which is left over from an old patch panel front wheelhouse. And I only used the bottom section of it, so got a lot of good metal here. I'm just going to use right to here. I'll cut it straight down. This is factory straight edge, so I'm going to use it like that. Mark it. Need better light in here. Mark it like that. That's where I'm going to make my cut. Be right back. Alright, let's see if we get a better light here. I like this light, it's cheap, but it's kind of awkward. It's basically just a 3-foot shop light I got at Lowe's, but it's LED, so it's you can bop it around pretty good and it's never gonna break or go out on you. But unfortunately, it's just doesn't have any way to attach it. Maybe I'll work that out in the future. Let's see, I was thinking this way. Looks like I got it a little long. Now I've got some pretty good sized pock marks in here, which means the metal's really thin. So I want to come up a little bit and get into that. Hopefully this isn't too bad. Nice big rust dent there. So where's my markers in my pocket? I'm going to cut this a little closer to the line here. And I'll be darned, we've got a couple of different deep holes here. So let's just leave it high all the way over to here. Do this ridge right here. We'll do it about like that. Oh, that's a nice straight line. And the next ridge is about here. So what I'll do first is I'll bend this and get it in there. Something like that. But we want to keep the metal. Wow, that's terrible. Okay, so that'll be a start. Where are we going with this? Okay. So first thing we can do is make these lines a little better for my rough estimates. To any good straight edge. In this case, it's a 2-foot aluminum level. And I think that's about right there. You can see I'm very careful with my measuring. It's a joke. If it isn't perfect, then it's not a huge deal. Cap go. Anywho. Hearing protection because I'm already going deaf. Close enough. Now, this is where I get to use this brake. Let me change the camera so I can actually see what I'm doing here. Yeah, that's my bench. It's a mess. Let's see. So I want to take. A straight edge, there it is. This light is terrible. There's my other light. Sort of better. Not really. It'll work. So I'm gonna make an edge here. And I've found that with this thing, if I want to make the edge a little softer, a little more radiused, if I don't bring this bar right to the edge, it makes a more radiused cut, which is what I'm trying to do. So that's what we're doing. Clamp it down pretty close. Yeah, I know. This is cheap, right? This is cheap. This is easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's doable is what it is. So take it in. Since I've got room to play with here, plenty of room, I'm going to go on this side of the line. I'm going to put the bend, the middle of the bend, right on the brake And then I'm going to have the bar set back about, it looks like about 1/8 of an inch. Secure it. Okay, and where my handles at here, there. These guys go into the little holes on the side here, and you simply pull up. I'm kind of looking at what I need to do bend-wise, gazing over my shoulder at where it needs to be. And that's about, I think, right. Might be a little much. But see, the nice little bend. Let's see. I think it's like $40 at Harbor Freight for this thing. It's a very, very simple brake, and it's very limited as to what it'll do. But you see, can you see that? Gives me a nice little edge. Should probably get all these stickers off here too. Clocker home metal has been, it's thick at least, is what I've found. The bends are about as accurate as most of the cheap ones. Not really any better, but not any worse. And with your scrap, you're left with some good usable pieces of metal. And if you think about the cost of buying metal, if you don't have a good source for it, versus the cost of these panels, they're really not that expensive. Because a decent sized piece of metal costs you $25. And I think that's pretty close to what this thing cost. Yeah, that's a little more of an angle than I think I needed. But there's a good way to get rid of that. Just do this. Flatten it out. Now let's see where we're at. Move the camera, hold on. So it's really pretty close. A little steeper than what I wanted. What I'm actually not really trying to match this anymore. I'm trying to match this. That's what it's attaching to. So it's got to come down probably 15 degrees before it's right. I forgot to trim that piece off there. I started to do this off camera and I kind of finished it off camera, but I want to show you what I'm doing because it's another way you can use this tool in a way that's it's not intended for. So basically I'm using this to hold the big piece of metal flat, and then I'm using a 2x4 and my body on this to keep it from tilting, to just kind of squeeze it down into a lesser angle. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you just try and bend this back, because you've got more flexibility on this end, it'll tend to bend on this end of the bend and create kind of a curve before the angle. It's something I just realized. It's not something I knew. It just started happening. So I had to think of a way to make it not happen, and that's what I did. You can sort of see it there. I've got to work that out somehow. And we'll probably, I don't know how to get rid of that. What can we do? So I could hammer it. See, I wish I had a big anvil kind of thing, but I don't. Do you even see this? Not really. So I've got this sort of anvil part here, and I'm basically tapping the gentle curve out that I just accidentally put in there. Looks like it worked pretty well. So there we have our first curve. I think that's going to be pretty decent. Let's take a look. Much better. Much closer to what we had. But boy, I sure don't have much to extend up here. Wow. That's unfortunate. Is it enough? I think it'll be enough. I need my pen. I gotta mark that center line for that next bend. You know, I could just cut this all off. I've got enough room here to cut this all off and start over, which is probably what I ought to do. I don't know. Worry about that little hole. But you know, I could make a little separate patch for that. Worth worrying about. Tell you what, we'll use this and we'll see. If I need to do a separate patch for that, I will. Actually, I don't know if you can see, but the line I just made to mark where that bend should be is almost exactly where it was originally. So once we bend it out, you know, and it lays in there, it's going to be longer than it looks because it's not going to overlap. It's going to be inset. Anyhow, let's get on to the next part. All right, it took me a little bit of thinking on how I was going to do this, and I'm still not sure it's going to work because it's the same issue we had over here. Because there's more flexibility here, it's going to want to bend in this area before it wants to bend there. How do I fix that? I'm thinking, I just thought of this. Maybe I can use this to hold it in place and bend it that way. But I don't have enough leverage to make that work. Get a different hammer, maybe. If I can find my different hammer. Let's see. There it is. The problem again is I can bend whole length is. See, there's no way to load this into the brake and make it work. Make the brake do this. So it's just got to be done. This is backyard stuff, boy. Right here. Right here. This actually doesn't work too bad. And then again, this kind of serves that whole purpose of this series of videos. If I'm trying to teach you anything, I'm teaching you that you can do all sorts of stuff with very minimal tools. And that's what I ended up with. Now, I'm going to use my other favorite tool here. The old 2x4. Clean this up a bit. I'm going to watch the angle on this too. I'm not sure where it's supposed to be. I have a favorite side on this one. Nice little radius. I'd like to find one with sharp edges. That'd be kind of cool. Stuff that comes out of our local mills, wherever our stuff comes from, the lumber yards. It's all pretty well radiused. And there it goes. I'm going to do a quick test fit over here. See where we're at. It's really pretty close. It's still a little long. It's a little high on this end. That's how we do it. Got a little bit of a bend here that I'm going to try and take down. You got to be careful when you hammer get something soft, because it's a lot easier to deform the metal. Should probably be using it here. I don't know if I got enough space. I do. Now, took it for a ride. Whoa! Yeah, I'm using masking tape to tape the tripod to the side of the car here. So, I'll show you what I did. Boom. Again, it's a little long, but that is pretty much the shape we need for here. Need to tighten it up a little bit. And then we trim off the bottom to the right size. And as they say, Bob's your uncle. So yeah, it's sort of curved, and we need to fix that because that's not what this looks like. Actually, it is kind of the way the original metal looks. But it's not what this piece looks like, so we got to fix that. But that's your basic shaping. I'm going to not tape for a while. I'm just going to kind of get it where it needs to be, and I'll turn you back on. All right. So it's time to check in a little bit here. We are working on the bug. It is mid-June of 2024. I've got these patches mostly done for the back here. I'm today finishing up this side, or working on this side anyway. Been using the grinder a lot, and I'm going to give the compressor a rest to cool down because it's pretty hot today. Okay, folks, back at it. That's what it ended up looking like. Get in here close, you can see it ain't terribly pretty, but it will work. One of the biggest challenges is attaching that new package shelf to that from the back, because it's all going to be welded in through plug welds in the back along that bottom of that gray area. So I'm going to pre-drill that in the right spots.